Oh, can I get some video of you? Because you're so beautiful. Hey, look at this. This is Pippa Dog. Hey. Yes. You're daddy's girl, eh? Ta-da! That's what she does. Ah, Pippa wants some love. Pippa wants love.
Okay, my name is Roy. I live in PE. I was actually born in Zambia. My dad was a Pom, my mum was South African. And then we moved from Zambia to Zimbabwe in those days. And then as the problems moved closer and closer to Zimbabwe, my mum and dad said, well, where are we going to go now? So my dad said, well, not sure, in South Africa. They checked it out. They looked at the different part of South Africa, climate, you know, how busy it was, but predominantly weather. My dad doesn't like very tropical weather. Coming from the UK, doesn't like a lot of rain. So my mom kind of did this, checked out the Eastern Cape, everything moderate. You know, in those days, Cape Town was wet and cold and damp, and my mom said P, and that's it. They moved here, and I moved here at about 5 years of age. Funny enough, grew up in the house behind this house. So this property goes back a long way, because as I said, I think I mentioned to you earlier, we used to look over the wall and see this lady walking around the back of this garden. It was this huge overgrown area at the back, but it just looked a beautiful spread, and obviously in the front with the sea view and that. So this area always appealed to my dad, but obviously never ended buying up in the street, you know, because it was just too expensive in those days. Sure. You see, I've done it now. I've been doing it now for about 7 years. So, I mean, I was very fortunate. I bought the house a long time ago, in 94, and then as I moved around the country working, I was in the restaurant business. I had this place rented out, and then went to work in London for 13 years, and it was at that time, having never lived in PE, but I always saw something in this property down the line for coming back to PE, because my kind of roots were here. My mum and dad was here and that, and I always wanted to find myself staying here for some while, because I'd actually finished school and moved on. So when the time was right, I decided to move back to P. And my initial thing in this big house was to go student accommodation, because I subdivided it and then put students in while I still traveled. I went overseas, went to Brazil, taught English, traveled around a bit. I was lucky I wasn't too committed here, but it was a start of, I think, creating what is here at the moment. It was the early days. So and then after Brazil, when I came back looking at the student accommodation, what I was making out of student accommodation, I thought to myself, maybe I should try the guest house industry. Lo and behold, what I was getting myself into. But I think just before I did that, I worked at something good for 8 or 9 months, still the restaurant business. And then I thought, let me just try raise some capital, put it into the house, and try do self-catering guest houses, because at that time every second place was doing breakfast, so they were all B&Bs, and I thought, let me try come up with something slightly different. And this house isn't really conducive for it. So being an old kind of longish house, I merely just split it into 3 pieces and then had 3 different apartments. But that's when I decided to get into that setup, you know. I think what's nice about each apartment is they're quite separated from each other, yet they are joined onto each other. But I think with time, the gardens evolved nicely, with the latte, with the beautiful plants, almost becoming bush-like now, you know, and almost outdoor but indoor living. The one apartment offers 2 rooms. It's changed a bit over the years. It used to be more of a family, 2 bunk beds, and then the parents' bedroom with a queen size bed in that. You know, now I've gone to 2 single beds and a queen size bed. The other apartment next door, which is a coral tree, is also a very nice apartment, but it's merely for 2 people. But bigger, all got their outside little zones, their little sit in the garden field. You can have a little braai, but you can be outdoors. You don't have to be inside, cooped up inside. Get a bit of a smell of the sea. You can see the sea from certain sections of the rooms. And then I've got a small apartment at the back, which was a staff quarters many years ago, which I renovated, all with their own little deck, braai area, and all similar, but offering the same kind of amenities, but the one slightly bigger than the other. You stayed in the Aloe for the first time as well. Really quirky little apartment. Yeah, it's kind of weird, eh? You know, I've had so much stuff that I've collected over the years, and coming back to PE and coming into this place, I didn't actually have money. So, you know, setting up this place, I've kind of done on what I call the spoeg and plak. But yet I've managed to find things from one really, really famous shop in PE, and a highly collectible and highly a specialized antique dealership called Colonial Antiques, and they sell all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can go back 40 years to your old woodwork table. I mean, they have got stuff from everywhere in all walks of life. And I started getting furniture from them, and then I started finding things and looking for things. And to be honest with you, I started picking up a lot of stuff. I got into this habit of going to the dump because I was removing so much refuge and rubble from this property as I was developing it. And it's up here in Summerstrand, and I just found a section where people get rid of stuff and give stuff away. And I find myself going there, dropping off stuff, but actually loading up stuff and coming back, and it was all this like garden stuff, man. Gordon, was unbelievable. I mean, I have collected from 1905 paintings. I mean, I've got a from an English artist, somebody. I mean, the stuff people have given away has been gobsmacked, and that's how the garden kind of started developing, with old pots, stuff I hang in trees, a lot of the woodwork stuff. Colonial Antiques, I think, was my saving grace for inside, the bulk of the main furniture, but surfboards and little knickknacks I pick up when I travel a bit and move around. And when you put it together, it's kind of weird. I mean, it feels quite different, you know. But not everybody's cup of tea, you know. What can I say? Yeah, the garden was a struggle initially because it's such a big piece of land and it was completely open. And I never, when I do something, I never really have a finished idea. I can't look at something and say, okay, right at the end, especially in the beginning, you know, this is what I want to do, because of, you know, unless you bring in the right people involved, architect, it all takes money. You got lots of money, you know, you bring the right people on board and they can do it. And I just started doing things, and as you can see, some of the unique stuff I've picked up, one or two beautiful pieces off the beach, which when just strolling, walking Pippa down the beach, I see these washed up logs, and then, you know, 2 days later, I'm busy grabbing guys that live in the beach and live on the beach and sort of, you know, make a living off the sea, and I help them, ask them to help me to bring stuff in. So that's stuff that's really brought unique and a unique kind of vibe. The rocks that I had brought in, I always wanted big rocks to give it some kind of old style, excuse me, kind of feeling. Some of the plants I never got right in the beginning because of our rain situation, and then the indigenous plants in this area that are water-wise and can take the southeast. We get a terrible southeast which just obliterates everything. The boat, funny enough, I always wanted a boat. I think that came from Paternoster, you know, seeing that there, and I thought to myself, if I could bring something from there. And checked out at Cape St. Francis, maybe I could get an old little rowboat, and never found anything until I went to a place called Second Time Around, and they had this thing there. And this actually was in the movie Black Sail, and this came from Cape Town, and then they brought it through to P, and I bought it from him. And then with time put a little bit of the garden around it. But it's kind of been my passion, because it's my sort of relaxation time. You know, I get into the garden, and what the garden's brought for me with regards to the bird life and the butterflies and the sort of bumblebees and a lot of the wildlife that you get, small town wildlife. But for me it's been precious, because it's been part of the lifestyle and what Amor da Vida means as a collective solid piece, you know.
Yeah.
But it's come with time. It hasn't always been like this.
It's almost evolved.
It's evolved completely. That's evolved completely. It's taken 7-8 years now, or the garden's 10 years now. I've got a small place I picked up at Cape St. Francis. You know, Cape St. Francis has just boomed since COVID and that, and I've got a very small little apartment there, which I'm trying to use as a getaway and also use as an Airbnb, bookings.com guest accommodation, very close to the beach, and also surf, absolutely firing seal point, surf break, one of the best in the world, just up the road from Jeffreys Bay. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm in no way the property tycoon, so please don't look at that. It's all borrowed money and paying off debt and bonds and that kind of stuff. But I've tried to find unique places, and I think I've got a little bit better at doing what I do. Having learned the hard way, because I'm a very hands-on kind of individual. So I'm very proud in one way, but I get that from people like you, people that come and stay and appreciate all the hard work, because it's a lot of hard work, heavy commitment, and also a lot of the sort of manual work I've done myself. So even doing this particular place, I lived in each apartment as I built it to try understand what would work, what doesn't work, what would work best for me, and then hopefully see that through the eyes of a guest coming here with the amount of money and resources that I had to try and do what I could as the best I could, But yeah, I enjoy it now. I've always enjoyed renovating. I've loved renovating and changing things in a way to try and get the best out of something. It's been a bit of a passion of mine. But very much the outdoor, indoor living, and love space, just love the openness of space and nature. Well, Jan P, we're very blessed. Cape St. Francis is really unbelievable. And I inherited a lovely flat on the beachfront in Grosvenor Court, right opposite Miller's Point Surf Break.
Wow.
And that's a stunning little apartment. It's end of terrace, wraparound windows. I mean, it's like living in Avatar, man, because you're on the 3rd floor. So you kind of look out to sea, but you see gardens from all the houses around you, and you can stand in the shower and look out the door and see sort of the guys supping, and you see the boat sailing past, and here comes the big new ocean liner bringing guests into peace. So unique, I think, trying to find unique places. But South Africa is such a beautiful country, and if you look at what's out there and what people have in this country with regards to offering guest accommodation today, it's just off the chart. I mean, people have magnificent places, What do I do for fun? I like the outdoors, walking, hiking. I surf when I get the time. I go to gym. I keep fit at gym as well. I don't think I do enough by getting away. We travel once a year if we can. We've got to close the apartment. I've got to have somebody come and stay here, which makes it a bit tricky. I'd love to do more weekends away, especially to St. Francis, and do a lot more surfing. Socializing occasionally. I'm not a big socializer. I socialize with guests occasionally when I meet really, really cool guests. But I'm a hands-on operator, and on this industry, it's pretty much long hours and around the clock. It's not always, but you've got to kind of almost be on tap. If somebody has a problem, you've got to kind of be there, and that's the challenge. Some of the challenges you face in the guest house industry. It is consuming. So you find your time. As I say, I love doing my stuff in the garden. I love growing stuff. I love propagating different plants, and I get my rewards from that. I walk around in sloppies. I wear sloppies all the time, and dirty shorts and a t-shirt, and I put a dish towel over my head, with my cuppy, just to keep the sun off the back of my neck. And it's a simple lifestyle. I believe in simplicity, but from the heart, and done with passion, How's it? I'm Roy. Please welcome to Amor da Vida. Just by the way, Amor da Vida means love of life, or love gives life. And it tells you everything when you get here, how pertinent that is to the name. So please welcome anybody that wants to come to Amor da Vida and experience a simple setup, but done with real passion in a beautiful environment. Thank you. Be my guest. I'll be here to help you.